Hello, and welcome to Odds on Serie A. It's match day 26. We are here with Daniele Fisichella to analyze, to bring you all the tips on all 10 games of this Serie A match day 26. How are you, Danny?
Ciao Leo, all good, great stuff, and looking forward to match day 26 of Serie A, of course.
Absolutely. On match day 25th or 25, we learned that Napoli's players are humans. They can lose time to
Yes,
time.
again.
They lost against Lazio at home. But before we get going with the show, please, guys, with this match day 26 in Serie A, do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Now, guys, here we go. All right, Danny. First match to analyze is Spezia at home with Inter. Inter have done their homework. Knowing Napoli's defeat, they won at home against Lecce. The gap with the leaders is still a massive 15 points. And when you look at some of Inter's defeat, Bologna, Empoli, Udinese especially, it's like difficult not to think of what could have been, no, if they would have done their homework in those matches. Two for Spezia, only 2 wins in the last 17 matches. Disastrous run, but they're still managing, I don't know, somehow to keep their heads above the relegation zone. The reverse fixture ended with a 3-0 for Inter, a scoreline which won't come as a surprise if repeated this Friday. Odds low 1.48 for an Inter win, although those odds go a little bit higher when you look at Inter winning maybe either the first one or the second half. What's your take here, Danny?
Well, Inter plays on Friday because obviously they got the best and most important game of the of the season now, which is the return leg of the Champions League at Porto. So they're gonna make changes for this one. I think they're gonna start those players who play a little bit less. Probably Brozovic, probably Dzeko, who has scored only one goal in 2023. They will preserve, of course, Lukaku for the trip to Porto. Against Lecce, they were professional. After they got a few telling off by the manager and the management, 4 shots, 2 goals. They're very good at home, Inter, this season. They can motivate themselves against the top teams, and when they play at home, away, they are stuttering, as you mentioned. 22 goals conceded away, 4th worst defense on the travel, away goal difference -3, lost 5. They will also be without Di Marco, without Skriniar, still recovering. I don't know. I think Inter, they might have to do the job early here. Otherwise, they will struggle against Spezia, who, by the way, against Verona, 0-0. They did create more chances in the end. Probably they were worthy the 3 points with the new manager, Semplici. Only lost 4 of the last 9, Spezia. So they're not in such a bad run of form. They lost to Napoli, Roma, Juventus, and Bologna. They always lost to nil. Those games, they drew 7 at home. This season, they're much more difficult to beat when they play at the Stadio Picco, and normally at home they average a goal per game. I think Inter, I'm not convinced. I think they're going to struggle here. First half, 1x, double chance in the first half. So either a win or a draw for Spezia in the first half, which pays 188.
And because you mentioned Inter having to do their work early, of those looking for a Inter first half win, is also odds around 1.80 on Expedia. So first half Spezia 1x. That's Danny's tip for this first match on match day 26. Spezia at home against Inter. On the comments, Danny, I can see some Jose Miguel, for example, Asian handicap plus 1.5 for Spezia.
Yes. Yeah, that was good, but I don't think it pays too much, to be fair. But yeah, if it is an interesting for the ACCA, yeah, definitely.
Also, some greetings from Zambia. Hello to everyone, guys. Leave your comments below. Some others saying Inter to win. But now then we can move on to our next game. We have Empoli against Udinese. Danny, they are both part of the middle class, let's say, of this Serie A season. Udinese 10th with 32 points. Empoli 14th with 28 points. They are also similar, or they are also in a similar negative run, 6 games without a win for both. Empoli lost their last 2 games. Udinese drew their last 2. Empoli's defeat last weekend came with Monza. Udinese saved a point in Bergamo against Atalanta. I have to say Marco Silvestri was heroic in goal, absolutely. We have here 2.59 for an Udinese win and 3.15 for a home win, for an Empoli win. Similar odds on goals over 2.5 and under 2.5, odds close to 2. Do you expect goals here, Danny, in this Empoli Udinese?
Yes, but not an awful lot. I wouldn't
All
be
right.
surprised if it goes under 2.5 goals, but there could be 2 goals here. Normally, Empoli at home at the Castellani scores. They score in 3 out of the last 4 home game. No wins in 6, as you remember. But, at home, very balanced. 4 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats. It is a side, Empoli, that likes to keep the ball, to have the ball. They are not particularly good at defending, and when it comes to sustain the pressure, but they do have an outstanding goalkeeper in Viviano. Udinese only 1 win in the last 17, and that was in lucky circumstances when they beat Sampdoria away. At Bergamo, they should have lost, really. But the problem is that they cannot score. Since Deulofeu is gone injured, they really have trouble scoring. And the addition of Tuavan is not really working for them. The 2 best players are Pereira and Beto, but sometimes they're too far from each other. 3-0 draws away from home here. So Udinese can keep a clean sheet, only scored 2 in the last 5 away from home. One was at San Siro when they lost against Inter, sorry. Empoli has an handicap 0 here. I like 218. So I think it could be well a draw, but I think the home side is slightly advantage here. So I believe this a draw, money back. Empoli has an handicap 0, 218.
I like that one. Then Danny's tip, Empoli is a handicap 0. Jose Miguel saying 1x Empoli. Casanova, hello as well, joining the comments. That was our second game. So, Danny, if I was asking you about goals on Empoli Udinese, if there is a fixture where I could expect actually goals, is the next one. Napoli in the Diego Armando Maradona against Atalanta. Matias Vecino's goal for Lazio last Friday was the first goal, if I'm not wrong, that Napoli have conceded since January. Although his attacking talents failed to shine, Luciano Spalletti's team had opportunities. Danny, Victor Osimhen headed against the bar with 11 minutes to go. Also, even on the rebound of that play, Kim Min-jae had the opportunity to make it 1-1. The feeling was like, okay, it's just a blip, bring the next game. But Atalanta straight after the only second defeat of the season could be tricky, either good or bad news. Good because they are never a team that is going to shy away from entertaining, which is going to leave Napoli wide open spaces many times maybe to counter-attack. But if there is also a team which can hurt Napoli on a given night, that is Atalanta. So what's your view on this one, Danny?
Atalanta will have to be perfect tactically, as Lazio were at the Maradona. Sarri said going toe-to-toe with Napoli, going full in attack, it would have been a suicide. And he was really good at shutting down the middle and especially screening and blocking Lobotka. So Napoli only had a lot of space, a few spaces on the wide. But then, the Lazio fullback were really, really good. They didn't concede much to Kvaratskhelia and to Lozano. In the end, I think the win for Lazio was a little bit fortunate, because Napoli, I think, should have deserved at least a goal, but deserved for the tactical master plan. Let's see if Gasperini is able to do the same. Atalanta is exciting, is young, it's a little bit unbalanced somehow, and I would be surprised if Gasperini goes with 3 up front with Boga, Højlund, and Lukman here. But then again, that could play into the hands of Napoli. They will need a lot of energy. Whereas Napoli, they lack a bit of intensity against Lazio, we have to say. Perhaps some of the players have peaked, and it's very difficult to maintain those high performances. But nonetheless, they do create chances, and I think they will create chances. They will play midweek against Eintracht Frankfurt, but should not play in the mind because obviously they got a 2-0 lead. It was the first time they didn't score at home against Lazio, and I don't think they're going to go 2 games in a row not scoring at home this season. They got the best home attack, by the way, with 31 goals scored. The curiosity is that they were without Mario Rui, and all the 4 games they lost this season, they've been without Mario Rui. Mario Rui is suspended for this one. So, they can touch any sort of metals, of course. I think they're going to bounce back, and I think they're going to win. And the Asian handicap, minus 0.75 for Napoli, I think it looks so good. 189, which means if they win by 1 goal margin, you win half a stake, which is not bad after all. If they win by more than 1 goal margin, you win 189. This is top of the league, remember, against a team that hasn't scored in the last 2, Atalanta.
People agreeing that Napoli is gonna bounce back. Napoli to outshine Atalanta. I can read on the comments. Napoli, Atalanta, they say 2.5 goals, and both teams to score. You mentioned young and exciting team about Atalanta. I don't know if they know how to be a little bit more conservative. Also, so yes, I believe on Napoli going back as well, Danny, as you said, to winning ways. Next in line, Danny, we have Bologna at home against Lazio. Although the Scudetto is heading to Naples, Champions League places are heading to Rome. It looks like Lazio finished the weekend third in the table. Roma are 1 point behind them in joint fourth. Not since 2007 have Lazio and Roma played in the same edition of Europe Top Club competition. I really like, Danny, that when on Friday they put to Mauricio Sarri that Spalletti was going to finish the job he could not done in 2018. He said, frankly, I envy Luciano to death. I love it, that one. I think was great from Sarri. But if he takes Lazio to Champions League football, he will be adored in Roma, I believe, Sarri. Away from home, Lazio won 2 and drew 2 in the last 4 league fixture. Bologna comes at the back of a defeat, but without pressure, Danny, because they look over their shoulders and they are in a comfortable situation in the table. They took all points against Inter few weeks ago. Can they do it the same?
Look, first of all, we have to say that Sarri's success and Napoli's success are also built on Spalletti's success at Napoli. They're also built on the shoulder of Sarri. He instilled the philosophy, the mentality of playing attacking football. Of course, Spalletti plays different, but he's the heritage as well. So it's also credit to him. Of course, Spalletti's football proves to be more successful at this time, but Sarri was against a much stronger Juventus. Against Napoli, Lazio were tactically perfect. As I said, I think it was a tactical masterclass. And then inexplicably, they lost on Tuesday at home against AZ Alkmaar in the Conference League. A very insipid game where they didn't do much to win it. They didn't do much to lose it. And in the end, they lacked that consistency. I think the problem with Lazio is that they got 13, 14 players that are really good, but then they don't have a lot of options. They don't have a lot of changes, especially in midfield, especially up front when Immobile is not there and they need to obviously revert to the false 9 with Pedro or Anderson. Immobile, by the way, might not be available for this one. This has been a big problem for Sarri, not having his top scorer consistently in form. In fact, no player is in double figure for Lazio. Zaccagni, Immobile are the two top goal scorers. They were unbeaten in 5 Lazio before losing to the Dutch side. Bologna, well, they have a very bad away form. They lost the 7 away game against Torino. Torino were better in the first half in terms of rhythm. They conceded a goal, another one, 24 goal conceded away. But, in the last 8 games, Bologna, they were on Champions League form, really. They beat Inter, as you mentioned. They were really good. They won in Florence. They won in Genoa against Sampdoria. And it looks like Thiago Motta has got a plan, has got a game plan. He makes them press high. He uses his also the players very intelligently. Ferguson a little bit in a false 9 role, a bit like a bit like Weghorst, if you like, at Man United. Tall guy, very technical, stands in between, very good at reading the spaces. And they've done all of this without Arnautovic. So again, credit to Thiago Motta. Last 4 home games for Bologna have been all under 2.5 goals. The bad news is that they're going to be without Dominguez. He's been really good in midfield, really, really aggressive. Often the person who leads the press. He'll be out until mid-March. Someone asking whether yesterday's defeat with will affect Lazio. They've been so inconsistent this season that it's very difficult to say whether they will be affected or not. I think they got a real good chance to go further in the Conference League, but on the other hand, they cannot make too many changes for this one. It will affect them if they are without Immobile. Both to score here, too. I think Lazio will be on the score sheet, but Bologna home, this season have been really, really dangerous. Both to score, pace two.
Danny, what the story will be if we know Roma won the Conference League last season? I know Lazio lost against AS Alkmaar last night, but what if they also win the Conference League this year, and then they both qualify to the Champions League? I think that will be one of the stories of the season for sure.
Absolutely. And if you check the odds for the Conference League winner, by the way, I know we don't do a show on Conference League winner, but Lazio, I think the odds for winning is around 4 and Fiorentina around 7. Now, if you look at the opposition, there are no German teams. The only English team in the Conference League is West Ham. Then you got Villarreal, and the rest are teams from, there are three Turkish teams, there is Djurgården, there is Lech Poznan, those there is respect. But, if you put a bet like a unit on Lazio to win the Conference League and a unit on Fiorentina to win the Conference League, I think is not a bad shout, I think.
So Danny's tip for this Bologna Lazio is both teams to score odds close to, on average, close to 2. But also look at, I believe Lazio can bounce back from this AS Alkmaar defeat during last night actually. And Lazio's win 2.55, as you can see on the screen, also not bad. Next one, Danny, we have is Lecce against Torino. Torino, Danny, scored one of the best goals of Matchday 25 to win against Bologna when Jan Caramo, I want to say it correctly, passed 4 defenders and poked the ball into the net. The 3 points lifted Torino to 9th and 1 point and a place behind Bologna. We mentioned Lecce's defeat. On the reverse fixture, 1 goal was enough for Torino to win the game. Nothing, Danny, here tells me, and I believe the bookies are listening to the same, that we are in line for a goals feast here. Goals under 2.5, odds of 1.50. Also, Asian handicap 0 for Torino, little bit, odds of 1.86, but can't see goals here.
Not really. Torino never scored more than 2 this season. They are very conservative. They were conservative in the second half. They were high energy in the first half against Bologna. Typical Juric team, in the first half. A lot of press, a lot of intensity, suffocating the opponent. They do create chances, but not enough, really, this season. But they do play good stuff, Torino. It is a side that I think next season will improve even more under Juric. 3 goals already for Caramo. He's been a revelation for them. He wasn't a starter at the beginning of the season. Away from home, by the way, they score more than Milan, Juventus, and Fiorentina, Torino. So be careful that Lecce need to be, it's not a foregone conclusion. They only won 2 games at home this season, Lecce, against Lazio and Atalanta, both 2-1. They always often score against top sides. It is a side that spends a lot of time defending their own box. Against Inter, they didn't create much. Not scoring 3 of the last 9, Lecce. We praise them for the way they are organized, well structured, but I think Torino is going to have most of the ball here, and I would expect Torino to have most of the chances as well. I'm going to be conservative here. Asian handicap 0, Torino 186, I think is great because if they draw, you get your money back. But the away win, which, Torino won in Firenze recently, for example, and they did a good game there, really.
And they scored twice against Juve. I know they lost that game, but
yes, they scored. So they do play good stuff. And, if they given the chance, if they given the ball, they will create something. They are solid as Lecce, I think. 186, Torino Asian handicap 0.
Perfect. And the comments, some saying Lecce to win.
The other side,
here.
Completely.
But Danny's here.
That's
and I agree, I will go for that one. Torino, Asian handicap 1.86. Next in line is Cremonese Fiorentina. We spoke of Napoli, Lazio, Inter, but also if there is a team in form as well right now in Serie A, that one is Fiorentina. Again, they will visit Cremonese on the weekend at the back of a great win against Milan in Firenze, 2-1 on Saturday. After suffering with injuries before the World Cup and after missing actually the World Cup with Argentina because of those injuries, Nico Gonzalez, Danny, is back to his best attacking form, scoring from the penalty spot against Milan. Fiorentina won 4 of the last 5 matches in all competitions. Cremonese is packing slowly. They're close to Serie B. Only 12 points so far, just 1 win this season. Last weekend they managed to come back after falling 2-0. Yes, against Sassuolo, but they were empty-handed by the end. On added time, Sassuolo managed to make it 3-2 for them. The Fiorentina win here with 1.94 is like a kind of like a safe bet, but with the higher odds, I would say.
It is really good. The only caveat is they play midweek in the Conference League against Sivasspor, and they got the return leg obviously following Thursday, whereas Cremonese don't have that kind of commitments. By the way, this is anticipation of Coppa Italia semi-final. So now, strange calendar, they're going to play 3 times each other in the space of a month and a half. Obviously, Cremonese made a miracle there by knocking out Roma and Lazio. Look, Cremonese, they're going to go Serie B. But they're going to go out with a bang because they never give up. And since they changed the manager, Ballardini, they score in 7 out of 9 games. We mentioned the famous victories before. They scored 2 goals, at least in 5 occasions of those 9 games. Only lost heavily once to Napoli 3-0. And yet in that game, they were taking corners, they were going forward. Look, it worked. He reverted back to a 3-5-2, basically, but often he plays with 3 attacking players. Desser scored a couple of goals. I mean, you can never trust them to keep a clean sheet, Cremonese, of course, but you can think they're going to hurt Fiorentina. Fiorentina, they were really clinical this time around against Milan. Look, the attacking numbers of Fiorentina have always been really good this season in terms of shots, in terms of corner taken. They were not really clinical and take them an awful lot of time, an awful lot of shots to put the ball in the back of the net, but they did against Milan, and it worked really well. The 3 men up front pressing the 3 Milan defense. They are unbeaten in 5. For me, the standout performance remains that demolition of Braga, 4-0 away and 3-2 at home after going behind. Braga is a serious side, and I think Fiorentina might have turned the corner here. Will they win? I don't know, because, again, they could be a little bit inconsistent, but I think from now on, they will win more games than they lose in Serie A. I'm going to go for an over 2.5 goals, 206.
Perfect. And also, because you mentioned Cremonese scoring with the new manager, both teams to score here is similar odds than a Fiorentina win, 1.95 on there on both teams to score. Jose Miguel, we can see now there on the screen, Cremonese Asian handicap plus 1.5 as well.
Potentially.
So from Cremonese Fiorentina, we move now into a fixture, Danny, which I won't be running home to watch it desperately. Verona at home with Monza. The visitors ended the run of 2 consecutive defeats by winning against Empoli, and they're still in a healthy place, 11th in the table for Monza with 32 points, and for sure slowly making plans for another season in Serie A from August. Verona also ended a run of 2 consecutive defeats, although with a 0-0 against Spezia in their case. I don't know if I would expect here both teams to score. Maybe not even one of them will score in this fixture, Verona Monza. That's why to see both teams to score, no, being the answer, odds close to 2. I don't know if that's not too bad, Danny.
Well, I mean, this is certainly one of the you won't be running home to watch, but there are many games in Serie A, unfortunately, this season that people shouldn't be running home to watch. Nonetheless, Roma Juventus last weekend, but we'll talk about this later. Verona Monza, look, Verona, I think they went to play to Spezia almost to play for the draw, to play for the 0-0. In the last 15 minutes, they were dominated by Spezia. And if it wasn't for their third choice goalkeeper, because Montipo was injured, who made his debut in Serie A, I think they would have lost. He made a few fantastic saves. They drew 3 of the last 6. That was the first 0-0, by the way, since November 2021. So again, it's not a team renowned for keeping clean sheet or for drawing to 0, but it happened. Against Monza, I think that, again, they're going to suffer because Monza is a more technical side. They scored in 4 of the last 5 away games. On their travel, they are decent. They got Caprari, Petagna, Rovella, Sensi, Carlos Augusto, Churria. These are all players that are in form, that are confident. They're going to provide at least a threat to Verona. Verona is a team that is very physical, but it's a little bit chaotic. They're not really able to manage the ball. Good form, despite a not very good defensive record for Verona. The Monza away they conceded 20 goals. Having said that, both to score could be good. The double chance for Verona, maybe. I don't know. Look, this is gonna be a pass, but if you really wanna bet on it, I think I'm gonna go Monza as an handicap 0-215 because I think they're a strongest side. They'll have more chances to win the game than Verona. If they draw, you get your money back.
So there it is on screen. Monza Asian handicap 0. So we leave that one, Danny. We leave Verona Monza. Now it's time for Roma Sassuolo. We will see. I remember someone asking on the comments if the defeat for Lazio on Tuesday will have an impact on the next Serie A game on Matchday 26. The same could be asked of Rome. We will see the impact of the first leg against Real Sociedad on Thursday if it has any impact on the weekend. But for sure, it's a game which they cannot afford to drop points here, Danny, against Sassuolo at home. With Juve, Mourinho omitted Tammy Abraham, also Andrea Belotti from the starting 11. He started with Jorginho Wijnaldum behind Paulo Dybala at front. So he changed from the 3-4-2-1 to more like 5-5-0. Very, very Mourinho. I mean, but judging by the result, I believe Mourinho, you will say he was vindicated, but Juve hit the woodwork 3 times, and Rui Patricio had to make a save even on the 96 minutes of the match. They will face a Sassuolo team that won 4, only one of the last 7 Serie A games. Do we have to expect another low-scoring fixture for Rome in the capital again?
If it's a low-scoring fixtures, Roma wins, okay? Because they won 5 in a row in Serie A, 7 including the Cups, Coppa Italia and Europa League, all 2-0. So if it's a low-scoring game, Roma wins. I mean, in the last year and a half, at home, they win 15 games, either 1-0 or 2-0. And this is a great result. It's not spectacular. It's not entertaining. Everyone was thinking it's going to be much better since they signed Dybala. Against Juventus, Mourinho tried playing with a false 9 with Wijnaldum to try and kind of block as well Juventus building the play from the back. I think it worked. In the end, the game was won by a strike by the central defender Mancini. Look, Mourinho, it could be divisive. People might not like him, but obviously has given Roma a fighting spirit and a cohesion they didn't have before. Under Paulo Fonseca, these sort of games, they probably would have lost. And now, out of a sudden, they win him and they're more competitive. Best home defense in Serie A, 5 goals conceded. Second best home defense in Europe, only Barcelona conceded less goal, 1 goal at home. Roma conceded 5. They play midweek against Real Sociedad. Go and check our video about the Europa League prediction about that one. I'm expecting an under. I'll not tell you what there, so you can go and check the video. Sassuolo, on the other side, they are free from midweek games. They won 4 of the last 6. So they won as many games recently as they won in the previous 19 games. And they got a few players that are in form. Loriente is a debutant in Serie A, already 5 goals, 5 assists. They got Bairami from Empoli, who's proving to be a good replacement for Berardi. The only one who's a little bit misfiring is Pinamonti. I think he only scored 2. But I think they're going to go and take the game to Roma. I don't think they're going to be trashed. Let's put it this way. So if it's a win for Roma, it might be a low-scoring win. So I'm going to go for a Sassuolo Asian handicap 0.75, which plays 202. So here you're really playing with the goals here. If they draw, you win. If Sassuolo wins, you win. If they lose by 1 goal, you only lose half your stake.
So Sassuolo Asian handicap plus 0.75. Jose Miguel saying Sassuolo also on the Asian handicap plus, but in his case 1.5 plus for Sassuolo. And just to finish quickly on Mourinho, to be honest, Danny, I believe that the atmosphere on Roma's home games are one of the best in Europe this season.
Always sold out.
And many is down to him.
Yeah, absolutely. He is. The stadium is sold out. He manages to create that atmosphere, the environment of everyone going for it. Of course, it helps. I mean, if you play in front of 75,000 people, I think he helps. Ask Empoli, who plays in front of 10,000 people. Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, now the one before the last is Juventus Sampdoria. Danny, to be honest, I was preparing to say that I felt sorry a bit for Moise Kean after he was sent off after 40 seconds coming on for Juve on Sunday. He didn't even want to look at Maximiliano Allegri. But after learning that Juventus triggered the 25 million euros obligation to buy from Everton, now I don't feel that sorry to be honest.
Not really.
Not really.
He lost his head there.
Absolutely. Kicking Mancini out of the blue. Anyway, Juventus has enough firepower, of course, to overcome Sampdoria with or without Kean. That is for sure. They deserve at least a point in the capital. We spoke about that, and the defeat ended a run of 4 consecutive wins for them. But nothing better to return to winning ways than to face a bottom team who only won twice and lost 17 times this season. Is the Asian handicap minus for Juventus the market to look at this one?
It could be because normally at home against stragglers, but also away against struggling teams, they've been really good. They beat Spezia, Salernitana, Udinese, Cremonese recently, all 2-0. Not very spectacular performances apart from Salernitana. They could have scored 5 or 6, but normally they get the job done. Look, Juventus, we know what the problems are. There's a lack of creativity sometimes against teams that defend deep. They struggle to move the ball very quickly. Allegri seemed to have ditched the idea of playing with 3 up front. So now that Vlahovic is without Milik, I think he's suffering because he needs another striker to open the space for him. Last season, when Morata was there, he was doing much better. The partnership with Di Maria, I think he's working, but he might need someone else to provide the assist to him. So he's obviously down to the wing backs, to Kostic, for example, to help him out. Let's see what kind of space Chiesa has in this team. Obviously, with Pogba coming into form, we should see him a little bit more, so that would provide more runs into the box from midfield. But look, Juventus obviously will play this on the back of the game against Freiburg at home. This is going to be another tough game. The one against Sampdoria, I'm not expecting Juventus to struggle too much, also because Sampdoria are having a disastrous season, let's face it.
Yeah.
When they don't score, they find also a great keeper that stopped the scoring, as Ochoa did at the weekend. Maybe up front, the return of Gabbiadini might help them. Otherwise, they'll have to still rely on Jesse, the man whose life was a bit of a soap opera and once spent over 5,000 euros to get his former girlfriend kicked out of a reality show. Under 1.25 goals in the second half for Juventus, 205. I think is a low-scoring game. Jokes aside, Juventus going to get the job done. Under 1.25 goals in the second half. That means if there's only 1 goal in the second half, which, for Juventus standards is a lot, 205, you win half your stake.
It's a handicap -1 they kept from Jose Miguel and the comments for this Juventus Sampdoria. We have only one match left to analyze. That is Milan in San Siro against Salernitana. Pioli's team is out of Champions League spot, but only on goal difference. And it's all down to a very negative run lately. 4 defeats and 3 wins in the last 9 league matches. But at the same time, then it's so tight up there, apart from Napoli, obviously. Then between Inter in second and Milan in fifth, there are only 3 points. Salernitana, by the way, has taken some air in the relegation battle, 7 points above the red zone, although they may feel disappointed that they could not do more than 0-0 in Genova against Sampdoria last weekend. Milan to score in both halves, odds of 1.95 is something you will look at?
I don't know. Depends, because we are recording on Wednesday, and there is Spurs Milan tonight. Go and check, of course, our predictions with Alvaro on the Champions League game. Look, we need to focus a little bit more on Salernitana here because there are too many unknown about Milan. Salernitana, I think the numbers of Salernitana are a little bit deceptive. They got the worst joint away defense, 20 goals conceded alongside Cremonese, but they conceded 8 in one game against Atalanta. And in the last 2 under Paulo Sousa, they haven't conceded no goals, although against Sampdoria, Ochoa was really good. So, in the away form is not too bad. They only conceded 8 in the last 6 away form if we exclude the game at Bergamo. And normally, now that they got some of the best player back, looking at Mazzocchi, looking at Maggiore as well, they are keeping the ball a little bit better. So I could trust them to go there and not get swamped by Milan. Milan on the other side, however the game as Spurs goes, these Champions League games are a different level. They take out a lot of mental and physical energy out of you. they're gonna make rotations. I don't think Milan is being cured completely. We saw that at Florence against the teams that presses high can take the chances. They do struggle. They didn't create pretty much anything in the first 50 minutes. They're going to be rotation. They're going to be turnovers. I mean, we're still expecting, of course, something from the Catelere. We're still expecting something from Origi. We might go the whole year without seeing absolutely nothing from them. So obviously relies on Giroud, Leao, Theo Hernandez, Brahim Diaz, who will be play, of course, probably the 90 minutes at White Hart Lane. Are they going to win this one? I think they will, but if they will, it's going to be a low-scoring game. I know in the return fixture, which was played on the 4th of January, well, they won 2-1, but they created 15, 20 chances. Ochoa was the man of the match. I cannot see the similar trend here. I'm going to go for under 2.75 goals. I think it's a good odds. 204. That means if there are 3 goals in the game, you only lose half your stake. More than 3 goals, of course, you lose, but less than 3 goals, you win 204.
You're very right on that on Milan. We will need to see the impact of tonight's games in North London. Taking that into account, a first half double chance for Salernitana. It's
not bad.
Has odds of 2.17. Not bad.
Not bad.
On that case, that's everything, Danny. Everyone needs to know for this Serie A match day 26. But before we bring the curtain down on the show, what's your best bet and ACCA for this match day 26 Serie A, Danny?
Best bet, Cremonese, Fiorentina over 1.5 goals. That pays 135.
And what's your ACCA?
Napoli to win. Lecce Torino double chance X2. Roma Sassuolo over 1.5 goals. And Juventus to beat Sampdoria. Total odds, you can see on the screen, 462.
So finger crossed then for that ACCA, Danny. Guys, many thanks for watching, for leaving your comments. We really appreciate. We hope you enjoyed the show. And before heading to Oddspedia website to place your bets, do not forget, as we always said, to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. See you next time, Danny. A pleasure as always.
Ciao. Ciao, Leo.
Ciao. Bye-bye.